All right, how you guys doing? So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is John Levesque. Most of you watching this will know me, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am 27 years old. I am a husband, a father, and an aspiring pastor. Going through a process at church right now called Equip, hoping that by the end of that process I can go and be ordained. So with that, I also own a couple businesses. We own a computer company called the Tech Mob. We have 2 locations. We are doing fairly well in that. Also moving into insurance and investments. Um, so that's pretty much a little bit about me. If you have any more questions about who I am, my background, you can always ask me. And as videos go on, I'll probably share a bit more. So anyways, we want to start our series here on moments of impact. And let's just jump right into that. There's a couple points I want to touch today. Um, the first step in moments of impact is recognizing the moment. There's these moments that happen so fast that no one really has a chance to realize the gravity of what just passed by. I want to kind of change your perception and ability to recognize those key moments. So there's these events that pass by that we don't even think about for more than half a second, and that can impact our future indefinitely. So, to put it simply, small choices can have very large effects. So, if we talk specifics, just to get your head to wrap around the idea, I have a really heavy foot when I drive. So much so that I tend to get tickets pretty often. Um, so, as a result, my insurance goes up. And as a result of rising costs, my wife gets upset, causes marital discourse, and then when things are lean and I need to cut costs, well, I can't because I have this crazy high insurance bill because I drive real fast. So with that, you can just see how one simple little choice, driving fast, has this big effect on something far greater in our life. So, there's so many times in passing moments where we fail to make the right choices. We even fail to make a choice at all sometimes. And so if you can't recognize these moments, how could you benefit from them to your advantage or to your disadvantage? So let's start down the path to understand clear signs of impact moments. So the first key to understanding impact moments is you have to slow down. If you're just going at a million miles an hour all the time, you're never going to see a moment, you're never going to recognize a moment, you're never going to be able to grasp it. So, it was said like this. So slowing down, there's this great saying that I once heard from the Dalai Lama. And he was asked what is his most surprising thing that he encountered on earth. And he said, man, because he will sacrifice his health to make money, and then he'll sacrifice that money to recuperate his health. Then he lives so far focused into the future that he doesn't live for today, and the result being that he died never really living at all. So a bit dramatic and a bit deep on our first point here, but slowing down is our key. You have to really stop and look at situations around you, because if you're just always running on gut instinct 100% of the time, you're going to fly by everything, and before you know it, you're going to be old and gray and wonder what happened. I have this problem myself. I tend to just go a million miles an hour all the time. So I've had to realize that I have to slow down and look around me for these moments. So, I think back a lot of the times and I wonder, what if I would have done this differently? What if I would have done that differently? Would it have taken me so long to get where I am? Maybe it would have all been different. Well, I don't want you to think this way, because we're all human, we all bleed, we all breathe, we all make mistakes, and so let's just tuck those feelings away and we can totally revisit that later. So I want to talk to you about one person, and his name is Tim Patterson. Most of you guys won't know who he is, especially if you're not a computer person, you'll never have heard of him. Well, Tim Patterson was a computer programmer from Tukwila, Washington, and he created a program called DOS, which that you're probably familiar with. Just this little tiny program that the modern computer age is built upon, right? Well, in 1980, Tim worked for this small Tukwila programming company, and he created the first 16-bit operating system called DOS. He had no idea what he had created. because IBM got word of this operating system, talked to a friend of theirs named Bill Gates, told him about this, and Bill Gates had just started a company called Microsoft. Well, Microsoft gets wind of this product, goes and offers Tim Patterson $75,000 in 1981. Well, if we look at that, in 1981, 75 grand would be equivalent to right around almost $200,000 today with inflation, how it's gone. So, which of us would turn down 200 grand for something we created that we really had no idea the value of it? So, long story short, Tim Patterson sells DOS, Microsoft takes all rights to it, and builds Windows on this system DOS, and has created the modern computer age with that product. So imagine if Tim would have stopped for just a second and really thought about what he had. Why do they want this so bad? Why are they offering me so much money for this little thing that I hold, that I really have no value in it? I don't even know what it is that I've truly created. What if he would have got some tech-savvy business people in around him so he could have better gauged the enormity of what he created? Who knows? Maybe Microsoft would cease to exist today. Who knows if technology would have progressed at the same rate that it has? So, you see, one decision by one man to sell a product that he felt had no value has built the modern computer age on its back. So you're starting to understand now how a few choices can shape the course of the world as we know it. A small-time programmer from Tukwila, Washington sells a program that he understands to hold no value to a great businessman named Bill Gates, who sees its potential. Now we're here, 31 years later, and we have the modern computer age. We have cell phones that have as much power in them as all of NASA in 1969. Yeah, that iPhone in your pocket, the current statistics of it, basically that iPhone in your pocket has more power than the whole of NASA in 1969 when we put a man on the moon. I mean, I can stream Netflix on an airplane going 500 miles an hour. I can talk to my car and tell it to play a certain song, to change the temperature, to set the destination in my GPS. Well, I can't, but some of you with awesome cars can. But one moment created all this, an impact moment, impacted the world. So the second step after slowing down is look for the moments. And I know you must be saying, wow, this guy is a genius, right? No, seriously though, if you're not looking for something, how can you find it? If you are looking for your keys and you find the remote, you just toss it aside. Then 10 minutes later you need the remote again. Well, you weren't looking for it the first time. Who knows where you put it this time? It's just a simple seek and find. If you seek something, it's much easier to find. If you stumble across it, not knowing you need it, then you probably won't remember where you put it. So again, just slowing down, look for the moments. So then the third point here is to analyze your ability to change. This is a big one because if you think of your everyday routine, do you stop at the same coffee shop? Take the same route to work every day? Talk to the same group of friends at work? Get together with the same friends and family on the weekend? If you answered yes in your mind to most of these questions, well, then your life is kind of stale. It's routine. So how can you find any impact moments in these situations? Same routine every day, no new faces, no new places, no opportunity. You want a promotion at work, right? Well, you kind of have to start talking to new people. You have to be a go-to guy. You can't just stay in your safe little crowd of friends doing your 8 to 5 bare minimum because nobody's going to notice you. When you start to step out and be the go-to guy, when you start to develop your new circle of influence within the workplace, when you start offering more help to more people, suddenly opportunities present themselves. The boss comes, notices the change. People are talking about how helpful you are. They get wind of it, management, HR, however it is, and then suddenly it's opportunities begin to present themselves, impact moments. So just for instance, you could go and help the receptionist. unjam the printer. It's one helpful act that can get her talking about you to say, oh, he was so helpful. He really saved my butt on this one. And then maybe the person she's talking to experienced your help in the same way. And then they begin to talk about how helpful you are. Suddenly, as you're doing this, and this is just one example, but as you're doing this in the workplace, you're beginning to affect more change. You're beginning to affect more people. Not only are you putting off positive energy by being helpful and not just saying, oh, I'm working my 8 to 5 and that's it. You're not getting another penny out of me. You'll never, ever be able to grow who you are in that kind of environment. So, another example, look at Paul in the Bible, who was earlier known as Saul, one of the greatest persecutors of Christians. He was, in fact, on his way to Jerusalem to beat up some Christians when he met Jesus. So then he has this impact moment, meets Jesus, goes blind, has all this bad stuff happen to him. And he had two choices in the situation. Did he A, get more upset and persecute Christians worse, or B, does he realize that this Jesus has something to him? And as we know, the story goes on, Paul becomes the biggest follower of Christ, the one who wrote the most books in the New Testament. I mean, what is it? Half of the New Testament? Romans, Corinthians, 1st and 2nd, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Thessalonians, Timothy, Titus, and I can't remember the rest. I think there's 2 more or 3 more. So imagine if Paul would have just passed by Jesus, continued on his course, or if he did meet him and not experience this situation as he did, the New Testament would have been a lot different than how we know it. An entire belief system was crafted because this one man, inspired by God, found his path from one single moment and chose to walk it for his life. All right, sorry about the interruption. Had a phone call, and then my lunch came in, so had a euro. So back to it. Paul, impact moment, totally changed, totally formed the Christian movement as we know it. If that guy wouldn't have made the choices he made, the Bible, who knows, may be the same, may not. If he wasn't divinely inspired, who knows if we would have gotten the same lessons, the same information. I believe God is sovereign and can do anything through anyone he chooses. But again, it's just another example of one guy making a choice, holding it, grasping it, and walking it out. So the fourth step is to grab a hold of it. So once you've slowed down, looked for the moment, analyzed your ability to change, now you have to grab a hold. This is the easiest of all the steps, I think. The preceding steps are the real difficult parts. Analyzing your ability to change has got to be the toughest of all the steps because, let's be honest, who wants to switch up their routine? Who wants to purposely leave their comfort zone? I know for me it was a real challenge until I found Christ. Once I made the decision to hand my life over, I looked at the people I hung out with, the situations I put myself into, and the result of my path I was on. Grabbing a hold and changing my routine was second nature because I recognized the lack of opportunity and the lack of impact that my life had in any positive fashion. So next week, we'll talk about the really fun part. It's taking the next steps beyond all this. So just look at your life this week. Are you pretty comfortable where you're at? Same group of friends, same social circle, same lack of ability to grow and prosper? Well, it's time to grab a hold, and that's what we'll talk more about next week. It's not going to be easy, that I can promise, but it will be so worth it. And so grabbing a hold, it brings us to point number 2, which next week is making the choice. So you guys be blessed. Hope this gave you some value. Leave me some feedback. Would love to hear from you guys. Talk to you soon. Thanks.